So,
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order. I'm gonna set it upside down, okay. So, roll call
Bob Holders,
here.
Jeff Perry,
Here.
Brad Margoyer was excused. Mary Garcieri, Stephen yet? Michael,
Here.
Will Garrett,
Here.
Randy Lewis.
Here. So we have quorum. All right, approval of the August 18th meeting minutes. Everyone have a chance to review and provide inputs to staff.
Yep.
Okay, Jeff.
Go ahead.
All right, Randy, you do
I
it.
do have a comment. Maybe it's a little too wonky, but in my line of work, there's a statement, the x-axis of the graph is inconsistent, creating a skewed result. The x-axis structure does not impact the result. Numbers are the numbers. What is true, the x-axis structure, if you put it on a graph, can skew the perception of the results on the graph, but the results themselves are not, don't get affected. The numbers are the numbers, however you decide to present them. So maybe that should be cleaned up. I don't know. And it's also mentioned the axis isn't consistent. You might want to.
Are you making a motion to revise the minutes?
I think so. I sent it in, but maybe it was too late or something. But one final comment on that. The x-axis isn't consistent. The structure of this x-axis is consistent with, it's common to see this type of structure in long-term projections. So a better way to say it would be that the data points in this particular graphic, the time between them are not the same with each other. That's the way I'd put it. Anyway, that's my observation on that.
So you're not making a motion.
I would like to make them, well, it wasn't my statement, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to. But yeah, I would like to make a motion to clarify that, yes.
So what words do you want to use?
Um,
Because you see, staff is the one that has to update the file.
I already sent him a note, but I might have done it too late, so.
Go back to your email.
I would say something like the x-axis of the graph, the data points on the x-axis of the graph, the time between the data points are not the same on this particular graph, and creating a skewed perception of the result on the graph, something like that.
Did you get all that, or do you need to have it stated?
I have no idea.
Thank you, Brian.
So this is what he had wrote specifically. That I can put in there.
Okay, I can make a motion to accept.
Well, he's
minutes.
making the motion.
No, but he's got to amend it, right?
Well, he's amending the text of the,
Okay, fine.
and
Okay.
so he would,
And I would add to that, rather, I mean, if you want to use the word inconsistent, say the data points in the graphic, this particular graphic, are not consistent with each other. I mean, you could read it and it kind of implies, well, the extraction structure is inconsistent. Well, it is. Long-term projections commonly use this type of structure. When you get home, Google treasury yield curves. You'll see basically the same thing. Anyway, like I said, it's kind of wonky, but in my world, this kind of stuff's important.
So what you sent in, would that suffice?
I would add text on.
well, you gotta remember, you gotta be,
Yeah.
staff is the
We're
one
trying to create-
updating.
What words do you want to see? That's what we're asking.
That plus the data points on this particular graph the time period between them are inconsistent with each other.
Okay.
And then, yeah. If you have any questions, send me know.
All right,
Although I
so
guess
it's,
that has to
so
be
it's been
nailed.
moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Or-
all those in favor of revising that particular portion of our minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. So did you get everything?
Yes.
Okay, so
I'll make a motion to approve the amended minutes of the last meeting.
A second.
it's
Thank you.
been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Alright,
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Minutes have been approved. Any changes to the agenda for this meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on. Anybody have any conflicts of interest with any of the topics on the agenda?
no,
Nope.
Okay. Our next meeting is gonna be October 21st, same place, same time.
I have a quick question. Are contributions to a political campaign considered a conflict of interest or no?
I consulted with legal counsel today from Mason County attorneys, no.
Okay. Just a question. And it didn't stop. Well,
If,
never mind.
if it is, then it would affect three individuals.
That's what I was gonna
that sit up
say.
there and making routine, so no, it is not.
Yeah, I was gonna say there were votes before where apparently it was not a conflict of interest, so.
Yes, I consulted with legal counsel this morning.
All right, so do we have any staff updates or commission updates?
So we may possibly have a PAC meeting on October 7th.
Seventh, you say?
And that would be for a comprehensive plan topic. I'll confirm that pretty soon here. I just need to follow up with the consultant. But I'll be submitting something out on that. It would be October 7th. For comp plan, topics, and then October 21st. I am projecting we'll have, short-term rental regulation come back. And everybody will see.
Come back from,
For.
okay, oh, come back to the
Come back to
fact.
you.
Thank you, thank you.
How long do you think that October 7th meeting would go? 2 hours?
So it's gonna be planning policies and it's gonna be housing again.
Hmm.
That would be the only thing so far that I have planned for that. That's already come to the commission. We've already had some public comment on it. I'm sure we'll have a little bit more. But that would be the only thing on the agenda.
Okay, well, yeah, keep us informed. Thanks. Okay. Any other business?
Nope.
Okay. And public comment on topics associated with the mission of the planning commission for which a public hearing is not being held. Well. Anyways, while we're at it. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or so. There's a lot of people here that do want to talk or may want to say something and we don't want to run this meeting long. Staff likes to go home as soon as they can, but I don't want to limit you guys what you want to say. I want you guys to have your say, but I will be watching the time because we do want to be judicious. So thank you. All right. Next item is the rezoning.
No, you have a question further.
Come up to the mic. Or actually, virtual mic. State your name.
Hi, my name is Ryer. I'm a student at Cedar High School. So I think it would be important for us to address the idea of public housing. There are many opportunities for the county to earn a profit on top of it. And it takes a long time. I know it takes a long time for us to get that kind of moving, but it's a 10 to 20-year plan. We have that time. I think it'd be important for us to actually take that time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking to the virtual next year.
Name?
Hello, I'm Alan Ramirez. I'm also a student at Cedar High School, junior actually. And I'm just here to speak a little bit about the Hispanic community present here in Mason County. I do know that we do have a very large Hispanic community here. I just wanted to say that I do think that the county planning should take us into consideration, considering the fact that we pay our taxes. We're a lot of the people in the Hispanic community that I know are very patriotic about this country. They really love the amount of freedoms that they have here. Then they really want what's best for like their kids, just as any parent would. I know personally, my parents have sacrificed a lot to be here and to give me the education that they think I deserve. There are also a very significant amount of different workforces. For example, I know the shellfish industry, my dad used to work there a lot. And I also do think it's really nice to have schools like Evergreen Elementary that I went to, where you can really sort of see these cultures melting together. It's a beautiful thing to see. So I just wanted to say that I hope we are taken into consideration in this county planning, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Peggy Morrell. I live in Union, Washington. And my primary interest in attending these meetings is the development of a climate resilience plan. Of the comprehensive plan update is mandated by the state of Washington last year with the passage of House Bill 1181. The mandate requires the comp plan updates to include goals and policies to improve climate preparedness, responsiveness, and recovery efforts. As the climate resilience plan is not on the, it's not a hearing for it today, I want to share a follow-up from last month's meeting. On August 26th, I sent an email to Kirsten Peterson of SCJ asking the following 3 questions. In December of last year, SCJ created a public participation plan for the comp plan update. It includes engagement activities to be held outside of the regular PAC meetings. So that includes public workshops, studios, and eventually an open house. There are only estimated ranges of dates when these might happen. So the first question I ask Kirsten is, when will there be a confirmed timeline for these public engagement activities? Also, last year in November, SCJ developed a scope of work for Mason County that lays out an actual plan for developing the climate resilience plan. The scope has 7 tasks and 4 deliverables. What it doesn't have is a single date for starting or finishing this work. So my second and third question for Kirsten was, have any of these tasks even been initiated, completed, and is there a timeline for these dates to do this work? As someone who's attended PAC meetings since February regarding the comprehensive plan update, I'm concerned about the lack of any sign that a climate resilience plan is being developed or any active outreach to the community around this critical and required plan is being initiated on behalf of the county. I also urged her to partner with Mason County Climate Justice because they have been doing the only visible community engagement, and because of their deep experience in engagement to work with all the most vulnerable populations in this county that are impacted by climate crisis. To date, I've received no response from SCJ. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Josh Wright and I live in Union. And probably dovetailing off of what Peggy said, I think it's really important that the comprehensive plan includes not only climate adaptation targets, but also ways that the county can actually support in efforts to decarbonize and to sequester carbon. to that note, I think that it's worth really looking closely at not at trying to set a target for no more forest conversion from timberlands to subdivisions, and that it goes directly to something that you'll be looking at today. I think that we should, as a timber dependent economy and a timber dependent community, it does not make sense to be taking lands out of forestry and into really low density housing. I think it makes a much more sense to focus on high density housing towards urban centers that also increases the effectiveness of public transport and generally decarbonizes because you don't have these large neighborhoods going into really low density rural areas. So I think having a target of zero forest conversion would be great.
I'm Linda Links. I mentioned last time I spoke that I own a small shellfish farm in Mason County on Totten Inlet. And I was really excited when I noticed that Planning Commission Mason County was going to adopt climate resiliency in their comprehensive plan update. So, and the reason it excites me is because we here in Mason County can actually make a difference. You know, shellfish don't do well in warm water or acidified water, which is what happens when you have the warming of the planet. Fortunately, we live in a place that has all these beautiful, big, mature trees that are not part of tree plantations, that are small forest. Well, they're not small, but they're forests that are naturally regenerated, and they store carbon and they help cool the planet. So to me, you guys telling our county commissioners to tell the DNR that we want to save those forests in Mason County, which is so unusual to have this wonderful county with this asset. And the only way the DNR will not take the money to log the forest is if the county tells them they don't want it logged. This has happened in Thurston County. The commissioners there decided they're going to save some portions of Capitol Forest, and it worked. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no more, online. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Karen Rice. I live in Shelton. I was the person a few months back who was complaining about how warm it is in Shelton. So obviously my short comment tonight is going to be once again saying that we are experiencing the hottest summer on record. And I'm really glad to see young people tonight at the meeting. They're courageous, they're articulate, and I hope that their voices will be heard and respected. They will inherit a world that grows warmer every year. We're not going backwards. We just aren't. So it's very important to hear their concerns. I support climate resilience, the climate resilience plan for Mason County, as is mandated by the state of Washington. Thank you for taking my comment.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Talking about.
In a couple minutes.
Yeah, we're only talking about.
Yeah, things not on there.
Not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, seeing no comments, we're gonna mush on. Now we can talk about the rezone. Okay. Take away, staff.
Staff Kel Rollins, my throat is giving me some issues, so I don't want to talk more than I need to, or I may go into a coughing fit. This is an applicant requested new zone for 325 acres of property in the northeast side of Mason County, just north of the town of Allen and south of Belfair, just north of SR 302 in North Bay, in the Coulter Creek area. And it is all under one ownership. There are 64 individual parcels. 63 of those parcels are 5 acres in size, or right around 5 acres. There's a couple that's 4 point something. And one parcel is 10 acres. It is currently zoned rural residential 10, as in 1 unit per 10 acres. And the request is to rezone it to RR5, rural residential 5, 1 unit per 5 acres. So the 63 of the 64 parcels are already zoned are already 5 acres or slightly under. And they can no longer be subdivided as is, and the rezone would also mean that they would not be able to be further subdivided. They're currently considered legal non-conforming in lot size. And actually, oh, no, I don't have my code in front of me. That may or may not be true. It depends on the 10 acres on what the minimum lot size is in the 10 acre zone. In the rural residential 5 zone, the minimum lot size is 2 acres. But the density is 1 unit per 5. So if you have a 10 acre piece, for example, you could subdivide that piece into a 2 acre and an 8 acre. And then, of course, in the future, that 8 acre piece could no longer be subdivided any further because you don't have, a full 10 acres or more to divide it into 5 acre increments. So essentially, this rezone request would impact one particular parcel, but it would bring all the parcels into a conforming zone. The zoning took place in the county for the first time in the 90s. And so this property was zoned by the county when the county went and zoned the entire county at, the initial zoning that took place. And there was no geographic information systems, there was no online mapping. And so staff, Marissa and I still work with hand-drawn, hand-colored large boards when they did the long-term commercial forest, and you could see each parcel by parcel they colored in and stuff. They did not do that for the rural areas, the residential zones. They did it in these other sections, but they didn't go out and drive. They didn't go out, parcel by parcel, street by street. They didn't look necessarily at a parcel level at that time. And so one of the planning commission members asked why this wasn't zoned rural residential 5 to begin with. And that's why it just, we didn't have the technology at the time in order to do in-depth zoning to be as accurate for all pieces. I know that the applicant and the owner is here as well, and so I'm happy to answer any questions, and then we can move on to the applicants. If the applicant has anything to say, and then on to public testimony.
So 63 of the parcels are already in 5 acre allotments, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Or slightly less.
Yeah.
One was like 4.3 or something. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, most of them are almost 5 acres or about 5 acres or less. And one is 10, okay.
Correct.
So is it true if the zoning is not approved, it would only, if the zoning is approved, it would only affect the 10 acre parcel? The others, they can put houses on each of the existing 5 acre, is that a true statement or no?
Yeah, it currently can be developed. Each one of those parcels can be developed for 1 residential unit per parcel. And if the rezone goes through, then that 1 10 acre parcel could be subdivided in the future.
Into 2 5.
Into 2, yeah.
Okay. Certainly, that's the only impact.
Well,
Is there anything else that would change?
Basically, the rezone would give them the the legalism. Right now, that's basically what it says is, yeah, it's subdivided into fives, but really they're supposed to be tens. So it's gonna cover them legally to be 5 acres. So,
If someone owns one of the fives, they may run into hassles later down, if it's not, okay.
they're just giving them the blessing.
It's here, yeah, no,
Effect.
that'd be a risk.
Cal? or
Yes.
Staff, anyone? Let's pretend I do not. Let's pretend I own just for a minute, one of those, 5 acre, 4.6 or whatever they are. It's currently zoned RR10. Can I build a house on it today?
Yes.
I simply go through the standard process. We acknowledge that RR10 coding is non-conforming to the physical parcel size. That would not per se limit, or prohibit my being able to request permits to build a home.
That's correct, and then if you were to look at a parcel map of the county at large today and you zoom in, stay around all the water bodies, you can see that most of the property around water bodies was subdivided long before growth management, long before zoning took place, and there are many small parcels, well under an acre, that are in the rural residential 5 zone, for example. And they are, as long as you can get a water connection and a sewer and or septic, not and or, but sewer or septic connection, then you could build on your.
As long as you meet the appropriate
Yes,
code
they're-
requirements, whatever they are. Yeah.
Yep, they'd be considered legal non-conforming lot sizes and
Just
cannot be.
Administrative
divided
blessing.
any further.
Kind of thing.
So
I think we need to let.
like he's saying though, so if I own, and I don't own any of it either, but if I own one of the 5 acre lots, applied to build a house. Is there a risk someone may come in and say, wait a minute, that doesn't conform with the zoning definition of this area? Is that a risk or no? Is it kind of grandfathered in?
The zoning would allow the residential use. And so the zoning allows that use to occur. The lot size, if you tried to subdivide it, we would say, no, you don't have enough property to subdivide it. So yes, if you have.
But if I own, say, on 2 adjacent 5 acre lots, I want to put a house on either one of them. I mean, essentially, it's already subdivided. But would somebody come in and say, wait a minute, you can't put 2 houses in that 10 acre area, that violates the zoning rule? Is that a risk? That's
If
on.
you own a parcel in a residential zone. If the parcel size is smaller than the zone designation, you can still. Put the use that is allowed in that zone. You are just not able to subdivide any further, and it's considered
Right.
a non-conforming lot.
So the 5's okay, but you can't subdivide it into 2.5 or whatever. Okay, thanks.
So do we have anyone speaking to the request? The request on?
Hey, I'm David Overton, happy to be here in person. It's been a long time since COVID, and Kel hopefully is not infecting all of us. She's assured me she's not, so I sat near her.
She's carrying Sharon,
I've been through the last 3 different comp plan updates here in the county. My father before me, this was a stretch of our timberland that had already been segregated down to 5 acre tracts, so 1 home could be built on them. Under our ownership for the last 96 years, no homes have been built on them. We don't have any immediate plans. This is largely a cleanup issue that we asked to have addressed in the last comp plan updates. And they just never got around the site specific. So as this area is changing, one of the mandates for the comp plan that I believe in is affordable housing. And we know that urban areas don't always provide that. While I've been part of projects that have provided some of the more dense and more affordable homes in the Belfair area, not everyone wants to live in an urban area, or an urbanizing area. So we view this really as a cleanup so that the zoning matches the underlying parcelization. And I think my only comment outside of this is to say, I would encourage the commission to look at other areas, because there are quite a lot of them that have density, especially in this area around Culture Creek going up to the high school. The predominant land use in this area is 5 acres or smaller. So our ask today is just to have the zoning reflect the subdivision of the land, so they can be conforming lots. I'd say the only net real effect is when someone goes to get a mortgage. So if the zoning doesn't match up, it's another footnote on there that just needs to be cleared. So it can actually be an impediment towards like a VA loan on a first-time home buyer. It'll just be a footnote on the title that you'd have to clear up, but you'd have to know how to do that. So it's just a cleanup from my perspective. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, any additional questions from the commission?
I had a question. Yeah, I like that comment. Seems like you're cleaning up and making legal what's basically already there. But it may prevent some hassles down the road for mortgage holders. And I personally like more houses. In my simple brain, that drives the cost of housing down. But anyway, I do notice there are conflicting statements in this in the document, and for example, with Squaxin Tribe. And this is far from my area, so I'm just reading words. I'll say, well, these are conflicts, but it just occurred to me, a lot of them are environmentally based, but would those be affected one way or the other? Is my question. I mean, whatever environmental risks there are for developing it, would it really change? They may be there, they may not be there. Would they really be changed with the change in zoning? I don't know. This is way out of my particular area.
So the comments that were submitted from the Squaxin Island tribe. They are making an assumption that the rezone would allow like a double of the density, and that is not true. So only one parcel would be allowed that additional density, the rest of it wouldn't. So the discussion about the doubling density is just not accurate. And then because rezones are considered non-project action, there's no development proposal in front of us. But whether the proposal to rezone is approved or not approved, the subsequent development proposal that can occur at any time, whether that's tomorrow or 10 years from now, is considered an administrative act. So, you know, they go to the Permit Assistance Center, apply for a building permit. And, you know, currently today, each one of those parcels, not necessarily as configured, it depends on all kinds of things as far as, you know, your water connection and septic and road access and all of that. But given all those things aside, you would be able to build a single family residence on that house without a full environmental review.
Yeah, it sounds like you're saying whatever bad things they're afraid of might happen due to development is going to happen anyway, whether or not
It can't,
whether or not it's rezoned or not.
Right.
Yeah.
The county would allow development on those parcels as it's zoned today, or if it is rezoned. And the applicant did bring up a good point that I didn't think about earlier. But the department, we receive, you know, multiple calls a year from lenders. And we'll write like a lender letter, and it will say, well, we're loaning on this house that's in the rural residential 5 and they're on a 1/4 acre lot, like how does that happen? And so we talk about that legal non-conforming, they can't rebuild, but it does, I can see that that would assist in the future for.
And either way,
companies not
sorry,
doing that.
either way, if someone has to do, someone develops, they're still gonna have to go through the environmental whatever.
Still gotta go through the full mill deal.
Yeah, I have one last question. So assuming it is developed, maybe this is a county commissioner question. Is the county gonna be paying for infrastructure on this private land? Like,
The infrastructure is, because there are no urban services provided. The landowner, pays for the septic installation. The water connection, however, whether that's with an individual well, a shared well. Or if there's community water in the area.
and the next concerned about the ability to provide power if there's a development, but. That's not really related to whether to rezone or not. Seems like that comes up when the development actually happens. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, and this is not a location outside of the urban growth areas is not where the county would get involved in servicing sewer like we do in Belfair.
okay. Okay, thank you. I'm done. Sorry.
Okay, just to clarify then, this is on rezoning. And as I read the Squaxin tribe review, what I see is very similar. There's an argument of this will double the amount of homes. There's only one parcel of the 64 that would be potentially impacted by this. And then there's arguments, there's statements regarding individual sections of the environmental checklist. And the way I'm reading this is their argument is this assumes that the approval we're making is actually allowing for construction. That is not the case. We're solely looking at rezoning. Construction is a whole separate topic down the road, separate permitting process. And whether it could be one or multiple parcels, that depends on the ownership and the developer at the time, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Will this do rezones typically go through the legal office prior to either coming to the PAC or being presented to the Board of Commissioners? Is just trying to understand process, that's all.
Rezones, once they leave the planning commission and there's a recommendation to the board, then an ordinance is drafted. And that ordinance gets reviewed and signed by legal prior to board adoption.
Good, thank you.
Question, when I look at this and then I look at the whole area, and I realize this is a rezone application for a particular area. But when I look at this whole RR10 area between the two UGAs and the two RR5s and what have you. It looks like to me it needs to be fully cleaned up. Meaning most of it goes to RR5, a number of it's public, government agencies or what have you. And if parties are concerned, which I understand, about open space and things like this, there's sufficient, to me, it appears there's sufficient between the state, the county, the fisheries, DNR, and what have you, to almost match, put almost 300 acres into open space. And so, and then like on the other side, the very west side of it, there's a couple big chunks that should be back into rural tourism, back to the Girl Scout camp, because they own both parcels. They already are zoned that way. So what I'm trying to say is this whole area seems to be kind of messed up. And why don't we just solve the problem?
So, under the comprehensive plan update, we can take the opportunity, and I think Marissa and I have talked generally about that topic.
Okay,
And not necessarily about this area, but just at the county in general, and looking at overall and looking at places where we know
okay,
that it would be just a nice way across the board, so we're not picking on any one particular site, but.
right.
And so this.
And I don't mean to pick on.
Marissa notes this, we can kind of put this aside and probably under the the land use chapter of, looking at our land use map and our future land use map and maybe right sizing the zoning
So you're saying like,
across.
in this comp plan process that we're in, when it comes to the land use, we would,
We can do that, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to look at this more.
Right, 'cause-
thoroughly.
because I mean, there's a significant amount that's just all different. I mean, like the whole Bellwood development's all non-conforming. Lot sizes, so, but that's fine. In other words, that's why I wanted to know, okay, there's an application to do this one rezone, fine. I got that. I just was wondering the process of saying, okay, looking at the bigger picture here. Addressing all the different parties' concerns, it seems like we could. Make it one big happy family and solve everybody's problem. But maybe I'm oversimplifying it.
Yeah, but I'm sure the applicant would like to have theirs.
Yeah, no, I get it. I
Then-
get it. So. That's it. Thank you.
All right, so seeing there's no more questions from the commission. Now let's go to the public comment. Mana?
Sorry for being a little early.
No problem.
My name is Christina Taylor. I have property that borders this new rezone area. This new, if you look on the map, this, what you're talking about rezoning connects with many more 5-acre pieces. There's almost 300 5-acre pieces on the Mason County side. I live on Lucas Creek, which is not mentioned on here. And I've lived here for 47 years. I've seen all the animals that come in. And there are also, section 6 on here is incorrect. There are 2 endangered species on the property that is behind the 2 that I've seen in the 2 5-acre lots. I have not been farther because I'm not trespassing on Overton's property. There are 2 endangered species. I did not report them to the Washington State Fish and Wildlife. I do have a call into them to tell them that I have them. And this summer, if I knew this was coming up, I probably would have gotten pictures to show you. One is marbled murrelet, which is endangered and threatened in Mason County. It is a S2 in Washington State. And mountain quail, which is a S1. And we've seen them, I've seen them probably 3 times. They're all very elusive, especially the marbled murrelet. The area behind me and going up to Lake Coneman has a lot of old trees with moss on the limbs, which is prime nesting area. And I'm here to have that put on the record that is what, that is in that area. I have not been down there because this summer because there's a female bear with 3 babies and I don't want to tangle with her. So I'm just here to request from David that, or the commission, or whoever is doing the permitting, that more green space be allowed and this be considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to point,
Name?
Joshua Wright, live in Union. I also want to point out that I echo the sort of need for more open space in that area. Because that area is the isthmus between the Olympic Peninsula and the Kitsap Peninsula. So all of the wildlife on the Kitsap Peninsula goes through that very narrow corridor between Allen and Belfair. So having increased open space in that corridor provides for much better wildlife habitat and also, and were you to build houses there, for instance, you still have the wildlife coming through. So it's not necessarily an ideal place when that could be a much more natural wildlife corridor for the long term.
I'm Julianne Gale. Paul, did you have a chance to reply to the Swanson Island tribe yet in that comment?
I have not.
I guess then my public comment is maybe it's worth holding on this until the potential miscommunications could be cleared up and so that there could be follow up and so that you could have direct comments and take the tribe's thoughts into full consideration.
Thank you. Seeing no more public comment. And everyone's had their say, we're gonna go to the vote. So who wants to make the motion?
I'll make the motion and accept staff's recommendations for the rezone.
Okay, it's been moved.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Next is the 2025 to 2030 capital improvement program recommendation letter to the board. Let's see.
Then you can say overview and then, the subcommittee can. talk about
Actually, I think I'll just have Jeff give us the
Whatever.
10-cent.
Please.
So, okay, so basically, several meetings ago, the PAC Commission wanted a subcommittee to go down through the CIP, which is the capital facilities, right, plan. I can't remember what the actual.
Capital improvements.
Oh, capital improvements plan. There we go. Anyway, we had our 3 meetings. We had 2 that were what I call the heavy duty working part where we grind through the text. We divided up the categories. I took the things that flowed, i.e. liquid, the water, the sewer and stormwater. Mike took the building, and I know Will here took the parks and solid waste.
I took what you guys didn't want.
Yeah. Not that any of us wanted it, but we had to deal with it. Anyway, so we all parties did a fair, many hours of review. I know in my own case, there was at least almost 10 hours going down through it and comparing and looking both past and where we've been and, what other plans the county's created over the past, as well as what, was in front of us. In summary, it was a little testing of our fortitude to go through because we found it very difficult to correlate things, events or projects relative to expenses, relative to income and revenues and grants and rates versus expenses. And in our through our different meetings, our 3rd meeting, we as a committee came up with the points outlined in the letter that I submitted to the commission, or not to the commission, but to the staff. And in summary, basically saying we don't want to hold up the projects. We don't see projects that aren't needed, but we have no nice way or easy way to figure out what should be, the priority of projects, what should occur, what additional ones should occur, that kind of thing. So the committee, in summary, was recommending approving the 2025 through 2030 SIP. But then we made like, I believe, 4 different observations of points that we want the, at least as a subcommittee, that we agreed on that should be conveyed to the rest of the PAC and hopefully to the board and to staff and the rest of the board. So.
All right. Well, since 3 of the subcommittee members are here, Randy, did you have any comments?
I just had one quick question. Looking at your numbers, you have a number of 41.5 million expense, 26 million funding. And if nothing else happens, you're depleting our reserves, I guess. But the rest hopefully would be made up by grants and REITs and these other things. Is there a sense of how likely it is we will be successful with getting that extra funding? Or is that kind of rolling the dice, see what happens, or how does that work?
When you guys wanna,
Which,
Most of those are through public works, most of that's public works money, so.
is there a sense of how successful we've been in the past getting those funds? Anyway, it's just a question. Maybe we could pass it on to whoever the expert is.
okay,
That's my question.
If I may make a few comments.
go ahead.
So as we step through this process, one of the challenges we had, so when I looked at parks and solid waste, the basis of, parks was the pros plan. That's the parks, recreation, outdoor, opportunities plan, where the name is, but lays out all the priorities. And what I found was, as I looked through the 6-year SIP, I said, okay, this is what we have. I compared it to the previous SIP, so I was comparing 24 to 29 to years 2025 to 2030, which is the current, comparing that to the PROS, which is the Board of Commissioner approved plan. I was noting inconsistencies between so the PROS lays out priorities of projects in roughly about 7-year groups, going from 22 to 29, 30 to 37, all the way out into the 40s. And I realized some of the latter ones, if you will, relatively lower priorities, were actually moving forward. And I started to ask questions as to why. Okay, and as Ms. Gale pointed out last time, there's a discussion of a trail going from, I believe, Belfair State Park down to the Salmon Center. And she noted that, hey, that's now moved off the list from the one from the 20 to 29, 24 to 29 program to 25 to 30 program is now off the list. Our county administrator discussed last meeting, that's because of projected funding not being available. Therefore, it's pushed to the right in somewhere not in the next 6 years. And it was we looked strongly and said, where are the plans? So what outlines, in my case, parks, or Jeff, water and sewer? So where is that, the basic water and sewer plan that outlines each system, or facilities in the case of Mike? And when we ask questions of, okay, so you have, like on a facility, you have 50,000 one year, some other dollar number next, some other dollar number next. What are you doing each year? And the answer, that no answer could be provided.
Right.
All right. Likewise, if you fund year one, is that a standalone project? Or by funding year one, must you fund year two and possibly year three? Recognize it might be a multi-year project. Okay. And we have a 1-year funding cycle at the county. And so we sat down, we looked at that, and we couldn't get answers. But we did find it's like in the breakout of the facilities, while we asked the question, we did find actually in the Board of Commissioners, their briefing packet for the 12th of August actually had some of the answers. So there's a lot of inconsistency going on. And that's why, my gut call, I'll just speak for myself. I think the plan is fairly solid for the next 2 years. Are there going to be changes? Absolutely. Randy, to your point, what's funding really going to look like? I think really looking at the next execution year, 2025 plus 1, 2026, is frankly about as far looking as we have, and we need to put these bigger plans together, just like sewer rates up in Belfair. And I was involved in some of those meetings. It's exactly this type of a question that's prompting questions from our citizens. And that's the primary recommendation going to the board. So I feel the SIP is solid for the next 2 years. It gives them a basis to do things. Projects are approved by the Board of Commissioners as they come in with specific bids. So the board knows there's nothing over or under budget. They know where they're sitting prior to the expenditure of funds. Therefore, there's responsible execution of taxpayer dollars. And that gives us some time. I know, talking with Chief of Public Works, there is action underway looking at both sewer and water, and they'll take it one at a time. And again, I think what they're planning, it really sounds solid from my experience. It probably will be a series of iterations over time before we're really where we want to be, but we're getting better. And we need to help and support the county in getting better.
Okay. Actually, I want to see if Mike.
Yeah,
you have any-
go ahead.
No,
I got rambling.
Okay, you're all right. I just want to make sure you give your due. All right.
You know, since our committee met and then came with its conclusion, which you have. Additional things that have occurred is that the SIP grew by X number of pages. In other words, about 22% more documents. And some of it's good, some of it breaks out some projects on the water and sewer. I hadn't had a chance to follow the way through it. So it kind of goes to the point that there's gonna be a lot of, it looks like, updating in mid-flight on this SIP. When I say updating, meaning there's gonna be some back and forth. I mean, there's just no way. Another observation that came to mind is I always like the accounting side of things. There's a chart on page 4 of the latest update. It's kind of a strange way in my mind of looking at total funding by taking out the fees, the services and salaries and benefits. And that's what's totally that's your total funding. In other words, fictitious numbers. Say you start out with 30 million. If 10 million is taken out for that, then your total funding is 20. Well, first of all, I don't like that approach just because it leaves a lot. I mean, just it's too vague, one, but it just leaves, to me, it leaves a lot. But then the other thing I started thinking about, equating this, it means that on any project that we're doing on a capital facilities basis, we're spending 26 to 28, 27% of the funds in-house as far as salaries, management, what have you. And that seems a little high since really all we do in account, I don't know about the facilities, the buildings, but at least in the sewer, water and other things, a lot of those related to these projects, a lot of those projects are done by contractors. So I thought that was kind of it is a point that I didn't see it before until I saw this latest run, and it's like, you correct me if I'm all wet, it's just saying that, like they're showing how much on this one chart on page 4, table 1, and you have your beginning balances, you have your 6-year projected revenue. They're pretty close. I've looked at the cash balances and the different reports. Then you throw this, which I didn't expect to see, this services like taking out from the total funding, and it's like, that's kind of strange, because so does that mean, is that number in these numbers? I don't think so. I think these numbers are when you hire somebody to do a project, i.e. for the water or sewer system, you're employing engineers, contractors, what have you, and I think that's that number. But the way this chart's created is like we're taking out a big, not like say about 27% for, I'll call it in-house costs, i.e. in county. I'm not pleased with that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying I can do anything to solve it right this moment in time, but that just seems awfully heavy in cost when most of the work is done, especially in these projects, is done by others, not the county staff, especially in the water and sewer area.
Very interesting observations.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't catch that earlier.
Can I ask a question on that?
Ask any question.
Yeah, that's like, in my world, that's like a constant debate having to do with marginal expenses and all that.
Yeah.
But and the question is, yeah, there's some sunk costs, like people that work for the county.
Right.
Suppose you didn't do any these projects. Would those salaries go away? I kind of doubt it, but I think you have a good point in that, should we even consider that as part of the expense, since it's a sunk cost we're having to pay no matter what.
I just,
Maybe that's not true, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm looking at the number.
Well, we're kind of going beyond the scope.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I mean, interesting observation, yes, but Randy, that's not part of our statement of work. It's not in our,
It seems like you're projecting
Well, there's two,
expenses and revenues,
Well,
seems
there's
like
two
it
different-
is kind of.
two different problems.
I mean,
two different problems. One is we're here also to approve or not approve
correct.
their plan. And we've given our recommendation and, you know, so on and so forth. So that's the major push. I will ask for a minute or two to say
Right.
an observation in looking at this additional document, the 87-page document that was prepared for us. I found this, and I'm not saying that I'm seeing it right, but it looks that way. And if it is that way, someday we at another point in this whole process, we need to potentially address.
no, I think you guys did a really good job, and I appreciate all the time you put into it. And you've got a template, you have a baseline to work off of. And all projections are gonna be wrong. All single projections are likely to be wrong anyway. But my question is part of the process, say 2 years from now, you look at what actually happened compared to what the plan predicted,
We take that.
and
We
you know,
asked,
recalibrate or whatever? Is that part of the process?
we asked for that data and it was not provided.
From,
We asked from staff the background of what did we plan in 23 and what did it really cost? What did we plan in 24? What did it really cost? And that was not
so
provided.
this type of documentation that they've been doing these projections in the past, right?
Right?
We have, yeah. We have asked the question, it wasn't provided. In defense too, we were asked, we were given, hey, provide the list of questions. We did. Collectively, we generated about 6 pages of questions. About half, a third were answered. The answers sometimes met expectations, sometimes didn't. Okay. But again, it was a 2-week period on top of other things staff was working.
and there's
And
yeah.
staff being a very broad statement is not just the planning staff, but it's planning staff reaching out to
County
parks
employees.
to all the full breadth out there. Okay, and so you know, so that sort of a question is out there, but no, we did not get an answer to
Well,
it.
maybe going forward.
Yeah.
No, that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say a couple of other things is, as we look back and we had the opportunity, there's one project in particular that sort of piqued my interest, you know, 9 months ago, when we approved the 24 to 29 plan. And then that project came back up, and the estimate that was there 9 months ago and what it actually cost was significantly different. The scope of the project changed and the dollar value actually went down as a result of, it was a subject matter expert review of the project site back in 21 that resulted in the project in 24. And when they actually went out, they had some other looks. So they literally redid the approach. So it was significantly cheaper. And my expectation, I don't know this to be a fact. My feel is many of these projects are sort of along that way. I mean, one in particular up at Sand Hill, a project went from about 4.5 million to $500,000, but still includes a maintenance shop. Well, I'd like to know what sort of maintenance shop we're building for $500,000 in addition to an artificial field for sports. And there's no definition, so
Put
it's,
something down, which is good. And I'm hoping there's a process, say in a couple of years, when we look at this, what actually happened. And let's not criticize the plan, because they're your best estimates that you can humanly do right now.
Yeah.
And I've seen the numbers, they're interesting to me, but this is so far out of my area, I have no clue. So, you know, but you guys are kind of experts in that area, so I trust. I trust that those are the best numbers that you're able to come up with. So it's great.
And the other thing you should know too is at least at least what the county has done to date, or most of the time to date, is at least bring this up annually. We're just now trying to apply some of the, Department of Commerce has a document for preparing, and there's sections for smaller counties and sections for larger counties, but basically we're trying to nudge through our questioning, through the things we're doing in the review, trying to nudge the county into looking, if they're not already, reviewing that document that Department of Commerce has as the process for getting these projects bid, so that we, the PAC, can look at them much cleaner and come up with, quicker decisions, cleaner decisions and have it.
So, let's hear, do you have any comments or questions, concerns? Nothing from staff?
It's all from committee.
I just want to make sure you guys have your, due. Okay.
And let me add another comment in here, so with regards to what are the estimates and what's potential funding, recognize some of this is embedded in grants.
Mhm.
Some of those grants are, potentially 3, 4, 5, even 6 years out.
Right.
Grant hasn't been written, so there are some overarching assumptions that as we start to get closer to those execution years, we'll be able to refine. If the grant turns out not to be available, it is, a decision will have to made as to what is more important, project X or project Y, and whatever isn't will likely move to the right into a future year.
Or is a project important enough that we're willing to deplete some of our
Yeah,
reserves?
however, there's a discussion for staff and the three folks
Exactly.
who sit up there.
Which I thought was a good part of this, because it flat out says, well, if we don't get anything, our reserves are depleted by that. I thought that was great information in your report.
Okay. Okay, well, looks like we pretty well ran this to ground for the committee, or for the commission and staff. Okay, we'll open this up to public. Anybody want to have comments?
I'm Julianne Gale. I just want to put in another request for documents to be easily accessible to the public so that we can make informed public comment. On the planning commission agenda site, in the email I received, on the VIP subcommittee page, on the planning, the comp plan page, because that's where their documents are, I couldn't find either any documents other than the line items on the agenda for either this topic or the last topic. And so it'd be really great to have easily accessible documents. I also want to just speak up in support of our public servants, our public workers. There's a lot of work that goes into hiring contractors and managing them and taking care of permits and coordination, answering the questions of the Planning Advisory Commission about the capital improvement projects. It's a lot of work, and I think that we should support all the workers in Mason County, including the public sector, which according to the 2023 Hazard Mitigation Plan is the largest employer sector in Mason County. And so making sure that everyone has living wages and good benefits and can take care of their families and can answer the questions that we, the public, and you, the commission, have, and that they have the time and spaciousness and enough staff to do their jobs well, would benefit all of us. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll say amen. So I just
Well,
want to say
yeah.
one thing. So, yes, I wish I would have the benefit. You said 87 pages.
By the way, who are you?
Constance Ibsen, live in Union. I was interested, you said an 87-page document.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, of course, I would have loved to have read that.
Yes.
So what I find difficult with Mason County planning documents is kind of the myth and then the reality. I mean, was this more of a reality-based document this time, or rather than hopes, wishes, and dreams? I mean, what was your feeling? Are we finally gonna get to some of those, just the small improvements in the parks, or no? I mean, on that one and alone, what do you think?
I'll address it.
Yeah,
My focus is execution year +1.
yeah, okay,
Because I really, look, when we're looking at like 9 months ago when I sat in that chair,
Right.
it was, what are we doing in 24? What are we thinking we're doing in 25? Because those are the things that,
Mhm.
to me, once they're locked in, we're locking in and we're focusing those critical assets, our people, on getting execution year executed to support the people of Mason County and looking at the following year to get it prepped up so it executes. And when I look at those, I think they're doing a good job. Is it perfect? No.
Mhm.
Okay. Are there questions? Yes. But as I have talked to many staff members, and county employees, I think they're doing a good job. I think there are lots of great examples of, big wins for the county out there.
Mhm.
I know people would always like more. I think it would be real fun for anyone that, yeah.
I'd just like
yeah.
documents to be more reality based, so
I-
I like to know whether
Well-
they're gonna be reality based, and I think in the past.
Yeah, I think if
there
you
hasn't
look for
been.
the next 2 years,
Yeah.
I think if we go back and we pull the SIP that was reviewed and suggested, recommended for approval by this board,
Mhm.
that was approved by the Board of Commissioners, if you look at 24, I think you're gonna find those projects are executing.
Mhm.
There are some a little faster, some a little
Well,
slower,
I'm going to
but they're
give
doing
us
it, so
credit
it's
to
reality
the
based.
planning.
No,
staff,
no,
because they are
it's-
the ones who are bringing this
Absolutely, yeah, I
forward
think it's the
in this
entire,
meeting.
yeah, it's
Thanks,
not
everybody.
this board,
Mhm.
it's the county staff.
Mhm.
It's the people that are making it happen.
And
We're part of the process, but we are, the success is throughout the community.
And part of the way this committee works is through our cooperative disagreements of different points.
So is there, are you
That's a good
gonna
thing.
have,
Yes.
is there a way to get the 87 page or whatever that was, to get that information on the website?
And I will say too, if you guys go on there and notice, there is a document that's listed on the agenda. And it's not on a specific project, like the comp plan project website or the short-term rental site.
Yeah.
If it's not on the agenda page after that agenda,
Yeah.
email us, because sometimes we ask IT and. it
Oh,
doesn't
and they don't get
get-
it. Okay, okay.
I did just check that the email I sent them specifically asked for a 162 page document and they just posted the agenda, so.
162 pounds. Oh, something else. Okay, so to give you a heads up.
Yes.
And when would you be posting that most of the time?
Usually the Monday before the meeting, so.
The Monday before the meeting? Oh, goodness. Okay, do you think you have that process down? I think I do. Okay. Yeah, Monday before. Okay, real good, thanks.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for doing all that work. I'm really impressed. I'm gonna
Oh,
look
yeah.
at the 87 pages.
We've been busy.
Mhm.
Fair?
Fair.
All right. Seeing we don't have any more comments from the public. We're gonna go to the vote. Before we get rolling. I think that the significance of this letter to the county commissioners should be, how we say this, done by roll call vote. Anyone have any issues with that? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
And this is a motion to accept and present that letter to,
Correct.
on behalf of the PAC.
So
Okay.
are you proposing it be presented so you would go to a commission meeting and present? Or does it just get sent over and see if this?
What do you guys think? Should we show up and talk to the commissioners and?
If I'm given a heads up, I could do it.
Yeah. But my gut thoughts?
Trying to think of their process.
Yeah, I'm not particularly sure if that's
Okay.
because typically staff takes your guys' recommendation.
Okay.
No, I could follow up on whether a member could come and lead this,
It's,
but.
from my view, what best supports the county? If having a member of this organization or two, whatever the right number is, being available to address a commissioner question. I think we ought to do that if that supports them. If staff can handle it and we sit in the room and say nothing and walk out, that's fine too. That's up to the.
Well, you guys deal more with the commissioners than we do, so what would your recommendation be for us? I mean, we're gonna pass
So,
on a letter to them.
okay, so if tonight you guys vote on whether you all agree on the letter and then you vote on the actual draft and sending the letter. I would brief the commissioner, so that would just come directly from staff, not you guys. So I would brief them on it. That letter would be included, but when we get to the point of the public hearing on it. I could see PAC member, whoever are PAC members. Being there to answer questions or reiterate any points of the letter if needed. So, and I can always follow up on making sure that's appropriate. After the briefing.
All right, so you give us a heads up if they indicate that they wanna, if they have questions on. Okay,
So it looks like you have, sounds like what she's saying is you got two motions here.
Yes.
One to get agreement on the letter. Right,
and then,
If you have agreement that you all want the letter just as the subcommittee.
created.
Presented, or if
Right.
there's any changes, state those changes. And then if you agree on the letter and you agree on the draft, then a motion to recommend the draft and the letter.
Since I was a subcommittee chair, I'll make the motion to bring the letter before the PAC. Recommending approval of this letter.
as is, yeah.
As is.
Mhm. Okay, moved, anyone second?
Did we have all public comment?
I thought-
Yeah, we did. So Mike is gonna second it, right?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept Jeff's motion. All those in favor?
Are you gonna roll call or aye?
Accepting the letter. I think we just go with a voice vote.
Fine.
Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
All right,
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, accepting the letter as is passed. Now we're gonna go for sending the accepted letter or approved letter from the PAC to the Board of County Commissioners. Do you hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to do that.
Okay, and Will, you're gonna second it?
second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those, let's say, roll call vote. And by the way, in Robert's rules, I don't get to vote unless my vote changes the tie.
All right, Jeff Carey,
Yes, aye.
Mike Hill,
Yes.
Will Harris,
All right,
Randy Lewis.
Aye.
The other two are not here.
Okay, motion passes. With that, we're done with that. Now we're getting to item 4, the Mason County Critical Areas Ordinance GMA checklist.
So did we vote on the draft CIP document itself though, or just the?
Oh, no, we didn't do that.
So yeah, you gotta vote on the draft.
We have to do that too.
I motion, we accept. That
So
I motion that we recommend. The Board of Commissioners approve the SIP. As in its latest draft.
And it approves the 2025 through 2030 SIP, the September 4th version.
There you go. Wait.
Okay, Mariah.
There's too many
Do
versions.
you want me to restate that?
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, Randy's gonna second it,
I'll
right?
second it, sure.
All right, so. Hearing no other nothing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. That's 3 motions tonight on that one. Wow. Okay, now we're gonna go to item number 4.
Okay. Critical areas ordinance. Okay, let me pull up my slides. Give me a moment.
Can't do it now. Remind me to ask you something after the meeting. On parks.
There may be a list of people.
You mean there's nothing about sewers?
No.
I'm shocked.
It's there, but I don't want a house.
Critical areas ordinance, the checklist that, Commerce puts out for that, particular document. Staff filled it out initially with what staff initially thinks, the current draft needs and what staff believes that we may need to have more discussion with our community partners and different state agencies.
Wonder what?
No.
So growth management, the RCW requires implementation of regulations protecting natural resource lands and coastal areas. The natural resource lands include agricultural lands that are not already characterized by urban growth and that have long-term significance for commercial production. Forest lands that are not already characterized by urban growth and that have long-term significance for commercial production. Mineral resource lands, same concept, not already characterized by urban growth and that have long-term significance. And then critical areas that are defined by RCW 3670A 30 as being wetlands, areas with critical recharge effects on aquifers, so your CARAs, critical aquifer recharge areas. Fish and wildlife habitat conservation areas, frequently flooded areas, and geologically hazardous areas. So those are critical areas that our ordinance helps to protect. The overall requirements for every critical area required by the RCW is that we have designation for that critical area, a definition, a set of protections in that ordinance, so regulations, inclusion of best available science, and methods of achieving no net loss. So whatever kind of development might be proposed there, we have to evaluate whether it causes a loss in a critical area. Habitat or water quality, things like that. So that first critical area wetlands. So I'm just particularly going down through the checklist that I filled out, so we had that attached to the document too. And these are just some areas for each of those topics, those critical areas that it wants the county to address in our ordinance, so that we have definitions consistent with the law. We're delineating our wetlands by approved sources. And that we have protections in place, and this typically happens for wetlands. We have buffers that are based on different characteristics such as habitat and water quality function. And it's also impacted by the land use. So you could potentially have a bigger buffer if your land use is, say, a commercial use rather than a residential use. And then no net loss. So the first method is to, avoidance. So if you can possibly avoid any impact at all, that's going to be our first course of action. And then we have mitigation, and in our current code, we have different mitigation paths, whether it's on-site mitigation, off-site, or something like a mitigation bank that may help to do mitigation somewhere else, but particularly in the same watershed where the development is occurring. Another one of those areas are critical aquifer recharge areas. So our code needs to protect functions and values of the CARAs, protecting the quality and quantity of groundwater used for public water supplies. It's very big on prohibiting or strictly regulating hazardous uses in the CARAs and protecting wellhead areas. So our code has to address those topics. It also addresses limiting and that's supposed to be impervious surfaces to reduce stormwater runoff. Then we have our frequently flooded areas. So we use FEMA and ecology guidance to designate those areas. And it's to protect functions and values and safeguard the public from, of course, hazards of health and safety. It may require flood proofing structures or prohibiting development altogether in certain areas mapped by FEMA. So of course, we have our floodways where development is not supposed to occur at all. So Mason County implements performance standards of the National Flood Insurance Plan biological opinion on a permit by permit basis. And it basically evaluates whether permit action will have an adverse effect on listed species, so. Then our geologically hazardous areas. Having a definition consistent with the law, protection, so having qualified professionals to evaluate sites. And provide reports and assessments of stability of slopes, soils, and effect of development. Measures to mitigate the hazard, mitigation is pretty much in each section of the ordinance. And in the case with geologically hazardous area with requirements for setbacks from slopes, having intact vegetation buffers between your development and the slope and hazard area. And recommendations for what to do with stormwater and structural reinforcement. And geological hazardous areas could be a series of different areas, so it could be a seismic hazard area, channel migration zone, areas of mass wasting, so forth.
What's mass wasting?
Yeah, I don't have the definition.
Okay, that's okay. No.
Yeah, we go.
They're gonna turn the TV off on us.
There's one button.
Right.
Sorry.
And I can probably find it.
Sounds like Netflix. Amazon.
Fish and wildlife habitat and conservation areas. Again, with definition, it has to be consistent with the WAC. Big on protecting functions and value of these particular areas. This year, this update, that's already performed an update on, the species of the thing, the level of those have, changed somewhat, and then, big on using best available science regarding the biodiversity areas and corridors. If you saw from the staff report, I noted on there that, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife has updated best available science for riparian ecosystems and some management recommendations. So currently the county has pretty much set buffers and setbacks for streams based on whether they're fish bearing stream, they're running all year long, they're seasonal streams, so we have different buffers and setbacks. They're pretty much, they're set. But some science has come out from Fish and Wildlife about riparian management zones. And it is connected to the potential tree heights at specific sites. So I just wanted to introduce the PAC to that particular document. It's pretty easy to read and it has some pretty easy to understand diagrams of what they're proposing. And of course, we'll have fish and wildlife comment as well and provide us some more guidance on that. And we'll be having discussions with them. Some additional.
Can you summarize what those changes are?
So I can say if we used the site potential tree height. So they have a mapping tool that has all these polygons in all these different areas. And so you could basically go to someone's parcel and see what the mapping tool, what the site potential tree height is for that particular area. And along the parcel, you could have maybe a couple different tree heights, because maybe they say that there's a couple different types of trees that potentially would grow there or have grown there in the past. And I know, I don't know all the details of it because I'm not the scientist who came up with it, but it has to do, you know, they look at soil sampling and to determine what type of trees. Now, there's some other stuff to it, and I would have them really speak to it more than myself. But the potential tree height, they have numbers up to 40 to 60 feet in height. And then they recommend if there's a tree height less than 100 to default to 100, because that is the distance that helps to filter like pollutants and stuff before it hits the stream. So they recommended to default to 100 feet if the potential tree height is less than 100 at that particular point. So you could have a setback that could be, instead of 165, which is our largest setback, you could potentially have, say, 240 at one end, and then it could meander down to 100 feet. And so it's not one same length all along from the ordinary high water mark or the channel migration or the channel of the stream. So it could potentially be a couple different lengths of setbacks along a parcel. So
What does riparian mean? Maybe you already said.
So
Rocks. Oh,
it's
it's a kind of wildlife, is that, or animal, I guess?
yeah, so
Water
it's
life.
it's
Okay.
not just about protecting the stream for fish, it's also about wildlife in that area.
You got it, thanks a lot.
That's between the water area and the land area, that zone.
I've never heard that word before.
And you learn something new today.
So the heights. When you say setbacks, so this is a setback that we could not construct in because of the height of the tree?
What,
Say it
sorry,
again.
I didn't hear.
Well, you had height the trees.
The height of the tree, then the potential height of a 200-year-old tree then becomes a setback for what?
From the ordinary high water mark of the stream, or if there's a channel that, you know, the stream potentially floods to a channel.
So the setback is from the high water mark of the stream, some lineal distance.
That prohibits what?
Where development is not supposed to occur, so it's supposed to stay vegetated. Now, we already have requirements like that, but they're just not. These particular requirements could mean a bigger setback than we already have. So. And I wasn't really planning on getting into the details of it yet.
Okay.
This is just. Staff has answered the checklist saying we are gonna have to speak with, you know, do more conversation with agencies and tribes and the public and you guys about how you know, how to implement this best available science, or if we are capable, or you know, how it would look for the county. So and yeah, so it's just about how I answered the checklist so far, so.
Do we have maps that lay out each of these critical areas? And potentially maps, since we have tools that they can look at differing soil types and, you know, water availability and rain and tree types and different species. Is there a way we can sort of look at this and say, hey, based on these critical areas, these things that are being legislated, what does this mean? Because if I own, you know, I'm thinking of my 1/4 acre plot and I start dropping, you know, instead a 200-foot whatever tree, my build zone is not very big. And I'm just wondering, what does this look like? It sounds like we have the tools. But have we taken, you know, do we have a picture of the county to say, because we talked about forest areas, we talk about water areas, we talk about, aquifer recharge areas, and I'm starting in my head going, that potentially could be a lot of our county.
So, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well,
That's your question, there you go.
And then, of course, Fish and Wildlife has additional mapping resources that has, shows area where priority habitat these are. And they have that potential tree type mapping as well. And then our GIS has, has incorporated mapping from different sources like DNR and Department of Ecology. So we have all that information, but despite these regulations, we also have elements within our regulations that also protect against being able to get reasonable use of your property as well, so variances. So if the potential tree height issue, so if you had a 240-foot buffer because of this, and it took up most of your, your parcel, we still have, and like we always have, we still have potential for people to get a variance, so they can get reasonable use of their property to build a house. So, I mean, and we have plenty of people that have to use variances now, to be able to utilize.
So it's standard practice.
It's just this would definitely be, this would definitely be more staff time and that are knowledgeable and in being able to go out there and, I mean, right now, the way our regulations are set up, I mean, it's pretty easy to measure 165 feet all along the stream, and whereas this, you're gonna have something that's much
Variable
more
heights
varied,
along the length of the
much more
stream.
varied.
Yeah.
So it would definitely take more staff time.
So the main thrust of this is how far away you have to build your house from whatever waters in the area, depending on all that other factors you're talking about. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, so how far development has to be away
From the water? Okay.
So you create a buffer. But I mean, the law does say we have to consider that best available science, and this session is just to introduce you that this is an important topic that come up this session.
No,
So we're just trying to figure out how we're gonna address it and how it might affect us, internally as well.
I just would hope that we as a county, through all the different partners working together, be mindful that terms like best available science, we saw best available science be discussed in, March through about August of 2020 regarding COVID. Let's just say that, there are differing views out there. There were then, there are more now. And so when we use terms like best available science, we just need to be mindful that there are differing interpretations. And likewise, when we use the word, reasonable use of land, depending upon one's view, there could be some very differing understandings or definitions of what might be reasonable. I agree. Tough topic.
So then that last slide is, so designating and protecting water to the state. We do have sections in there throughout the ordinance that mention that. And inadvertent fisheries are also mentioned. The reasonable use exceptions that I already mentioned, we have those already in the code. And we have a voluntary stewardship program for agricultural activities. I think there's a section within there as well. Forest application regulations, we have those. And then there's some non-regulatory measures. They're not required, but they're recommended. A big thing is monitoring of measures we already have in place, like the common line mitigation plans, our habitat management plans, and restoration plans. It's always, we've required those plans for a long time, but monitoring them has always been an issue, and I think based on what I've heard from our director, that with our permitting software, we have an ability to set up for each permit a way to put in monitoring and be, I think, notified of different like timelines in the process of monitoring that's required. So we're hoping that, you know, that's gonna help us with that process, is gonna actually gathering the data about how well monitoring is going or not going. So just some initial information on how we've addressed the checklist so far. I do believe we have someone from the Department of Ecology on too that may want to.
The well monitoring, you mentioned with software and some other tools, are those physically in place now?
The SmartGov has the ability to help with monitoring, parts of permitting.
Is there anything we as a county need to do, or is that fully funded?
SmartGov are the monitoring, I mean, we're supposed to be doing monitoring now, but it's just,
I guess my core question is, are there steps we need to take, and is there funding required from the county to do what we need to do? Or is it covered right now? Is there an unfunded mandate out there? And if we don't know, we don't know, and that's a fair answer too.
I would say following, you know, we only have one code enforcement in place, right? And
I think you just answered your own.
That one answered.
she takes care of the, you know, really important stuff, but monitoring, you know, it's really hard for our planners circle back like that, because, you know, monitoring is supposed to go over a length of years, you know? So it's really hard to follow up with that, and you almost need a staff person just to follow up on monitoring and going out and inspecting whether whether their mitigation is actually, you know, making it.
Yeah.
So, or
Okay.
whether we need to think of changing something such as that, or, you know, checking our performance standards, and, you know, at what point is this mitigation, this plan we have in place not working, and we need to change up our regulations regarding mitigation. So, yeah, I would say staffing on that is, I mean,
It's limited.
limited.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a representative from the
Let's see.
Olympia here?
We do have Emily from Ecology. I don't know if she wants to say anything, but she's available.
Yeah, hi, this is Emily Atkins with Department of Ecology, particularly with the Wetlands Department of Ecology. I cannot speak for the other all of the critical areas, as they are have jurisdiction under various agencies, including ENR and DSW. But you know, that just trying to point out that the best available science is a very tricky, difficult part of the Growth Management Act, that requirement, and it does include a range. So there is not one, you know, there's a range of best available science that can be gathered by a jurisdiction for their purposes. And it might look different depending on, you know, Mason County versus Pierce County. They all look rather different, but the purpose of the agencies is to provide guidelines and best available science built into those guidelines. And that helps the jurisdictions to be in line with those requirements of the Growth Management Act. So my role, as well as others at the other agencies with the state, are to help kind of work with local jurisdictions like Mason County to get through this process as smoothly as possible, because we do understand it is very difficult. And would highly recommend, Marissa, reaching out to DFW for more information on the site potential tree height. I cannot speak to that. That is new guidance from DFW that I do not know much about. That's very different from our wetland guidance. But would highly recommend reaching out to them for more information about what the update might look like for you guys. And I don't know if this is the right place for that, but if you have any questions for me, I'll do my best to answer.
Any questions from the commissioners?
No, at this point, it's kind of input time.
Can we get back to Emily?
Of course, yeah, I'll be in touch with the planners and the Marissa throughout this whole process and available. So yeah, I'll be around for the update.
Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
So commissioners had everything, staff is everything. Public comment, step up. Who knows, Emma, you might get a question yet.
So Constance Dixon, I live in Union, and I am most familiar with the critical areas with the critical aquifer recharge area. And I was part of a committee an ad hoc committee that formed in 2013 at the request of Commissioner Netherland at that time to what is it, just basic, how are we doing? And I have that report. It was distributed quite widely. And let me just say that we have gone back to where we were, basically, in my opinion, to about 1998, which is before Mason County adopted a critical aquifer recharge area in 1999, the same year as the city. And the city and the counties are almost exactly alike because they wanted to be in compliance with the growth management. So they finally decided to adopt the words so that they would be in compliance. However, it has never been implemented. So right now, after the report was delivered in 2013, I followed intensely to try to see how if we could have any impact and have some changes, and we did. And I followed it and kept a timeline through February of 2015. It's called the Big Nag Timeline. And so in 2015, we began to get some mapping. And in fact, one of the last things in here was that I purchased on October 31st, 2013, a CARA map with quote unquote problem area lines in it. But that was progress. We were looking at it. And now today, if you go to the Mason County website at critical areas, there's no CARA map. I called the man today, Mr. Diaz, and who's the GIS guy, and he said, yep, we don't have one. It's just not popular. And it would take some doing for him to be able to make such a map, and basically it's gone. So I don't know how we can encourage people, our developers, our planners, or anything to look at the critical aquifer recharge maps when it's in the layer, but it's not really by parcels. You can really hardly see it. We also don't count CARA 3, level 3, they're just not there. We've just never done that. We only do level 1 and level 2 susceptibilities. We never did 3. And the city has, some of the same issues because they have some of the most polluted sites from before. And unfortunately, a lot of their industrial zoned land inside the UGA is on critical aquifer recharge areas. And we also lack science. And people seem to not want science. So I don't know if there is a time and a place, but I would really encourage the county to do, to put in some money, very little money, less than 25%, and have the USGS, which a number of citizens got together after the county was not doing anything. And we got, this was the first report we actually had on the ground. This is well logs. This is really good data. Then we had phase 2, but there's never been the phase 3, which is really the beginning of understanding groundwater and groundwater flow here in Mason County so that we can protect it. So I don't know how I'm going to write up this, but I am really, so for over 20 years, I've been following this and it hasn't gotten any better. So just saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Julianne Gale. I appreciate all the work that went into this, and it's nice to have a staff report to go with the checklist to kind of get oriented. I did notice that there were no public comments up till this moment, and I know one thing that inhibits me in terms of public comment is just not having enough information or not knowing what something means or what something is. And so in the non-regulatory measures, one of the options in the checklist is public education. And it would be really cool to see the county pursue grant opportunities for more public education, for more stewardship, and especially for staff to do monitoring, to do the mapping work. I'm really thinking about your comment, Christina, sorry, about how important the areas around your home are in terms of endangered species habitat. All of the critical things that we're thinking about, without resources to have the maps, to have the staff to do the monitoring, it's hard to know whether, one, whether we're in compliance with the law, and two, whether we're giving the best possible future to all of us, our children, our grandchildren, the children yet to be born. I would really love to see us invest in our future, and invest in our capacity so that we can do more with every passing year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. That's the end of the public comment activity. Sure.
So one question, for well monitoring. Is that paid for by the county? Well monitoring, that's been mentioned a couple of times. That's typically something that we would need to find budget within the county to cover. Okay, that's a fine answer though.
They're not doing it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm just trying to understand, that's all. You've answered the question, thank you.
So it's an unfunded activity.
Well, it needs more research,
Yeah.
but I'll take care of that outside of here.
All right, so with that, I think we've pretty well covered the agenda and everyone's had their say.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Sure, I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and
I'll be
seconded. All
official.
those in favor during the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And
Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
so Bob, when you